November 25th, 1988. A 17-year-old high school student never made it home. What followed was 44 days of captivity, escalating violence, and a crime that would shock an entire nation. Today, we revisit the case of Junko Furuta, a name etched in Japan's criminal history. This report will not sensationalize. It will seek clarity. We'll examine who Junko was, how she was taken, what happened during those harrowing weeks, and what lessons remain for all of us. This is not just a story of brutality. It's a story about social responsibility and what happens when silence allows evil to thrive. Stay with me, because understanding this case means confronting hard truths. Before we proceed with the timeline, let's clarify something important. This account is not speculation. It's based on verified evidence. We rely on three primary sources: court records and trial transcripts, forensic reports examined by medical experts, and contemporaneous news coverage verified by multiple outlets. Where the law demands discretion, we comply. That means no unnecessary detail, no sensational language, only the facts as established in open court and investigative findings. Why is this necessary? Because crimes like these can easily become urban legend. Our responsibility is to separate fact from rumor and present a record that is accurate, respectful, and instructive. With that in mind, let's begin by understanding Junko Furuta, the young woman at the center of this case. Her name was Junko Furuta, born January 18, 1971. 17 years old. A high school student in Saitama Prefecture. Friends described her as cheerful, diligent, someone who balanced school and part-time work to help her family. She had plans, concrete plans for the future. A stable job after graduation. Independence. The ordinary dreams of a teenager who worked hard for them. Her family lived modestly. A father employed at a local company. A mother who managed the home. 2 brothers. A typical household with typical hopes. All of that ended in a single evening, and what followed would become one of the most haunting cases in Japanese criminal history. Remember this as we move forward. Junko was not a statistic. She was a daughter, a student, a human being whose life was stolen. To understand what happened, we need to look at those who made it happen. The core group responsible for Junko's captivity consisted of 4 young men, all teenagers, all part of an informal gang. The first name, Hiroshi Miyano, 18 years old, seen as the leader, known for truancy, aggression, and deep involvement with delinquent circles. Next, Joe Ogu, 17, a history of instability at home, frequently absent from school, increasingly drawn into violent behavior. Then there was Shinji Minato, 16 years old, the owner of the house where Junko would be held, a family under tension, a home that became a prison. And finally, Yasushi Watanabe, 17, part of the same circle, a follower, but willing to participate. Over time, others joined in, but these 4 formed the nucleus. What linked them? School disengagement, family fractures, and something darker. A group dynamic where cruelty was normalized and escalated. Together, they created a world where violence was entertainment and human life meant nothing. Friday night, November 25th, 1988. Junko Furuta finishes a shift at a plastic factory and begins the short ride home on her bicycle. The road is dimly lit, quiet, ordinary, until a motorbike collides with her from behind. The rider speeds away. Junko is shaken, but not seriously hurt. Then, help arrives, or so she thinks. A young man approaches. He says, "It's dangerous to ride alone. I'll walk you home." His name was Hiroshi Miyano. But Miyano never takes her home. Instead, he leads her to a secluded area. There, the first assault occurs. A calculated act of violence, and the beginning of 44 days of terror. From that moment on, Junko is trapped, threatened, told her family will be killed if she resists. And she believes them. They take her to a house in the IRC district, the home of Shinji Minato. It will become her prison. From late November to early January, Junko Furuta is held inside an ordinary two-story home, a quiet house, in a quiet neighborhood. But inside, a nightmare is unfolding. This is Shinji Minato's house. Upstairs, in a small room, Junko is confined, day after day, night after night. The abuse begins immediately and never stops. Physical violence, sexual violence, starvation, humiliation. The number of people involved grows. Word spreads among the gang's circle. They come and go. Some watch, some participate. No one calls for help. And what about the adults? Minato's parents live in the same house. They hear noises. They notice strange behavior, but fear and social silence keep them from intervening. Outside, neighbors sense something is wrong, but no one reports. That silence would last 44 days, long enough for the unimaginable to happen. Inside that room, the cruelty escalates. Every single day. First, the beatings, fists, kicks, hours of violence that left her body covered in bruises. Teeth shattered, bones weakened, then burns. After an attempt to call for help, they pour lighter fluid on her legs and set her on fire. The flames leave raw, open wounds, untreated, infected. The pain unimaginable. But they don't stop there. They starve her, force her to eat things no human should. They strip away her dignity, piece by piece. And the sexual violence, relentless, repeated. Over 44 days, her body becomes a battlefield of injuries. Internal trauma so severe that forensic doctors struggled to describe it. Junko's health collapses. Infections spread. She can barely move. But even in that state, they continue. This is not just violence, it's calculated destruction of a human being. Junko makes a desperate move. While her captors sleep, she crawls. Her burned legs barely working. Down the stairs toward the phone. Her fingers tremble. She dials the emergency number. For a brief moment, there is hope. A voice on the other end. But then, footsteps. Hiroshi is behind her. He rips the phone from her hand. He hangs up. That call becomes her death sentence. Hiroshi drags her upstairs, his rage controllable. He beats her. Over and over. Then, he reaches for a lighter, pours fluid on her legs, and sets her on fire. The screams echo through the house. No one stops him. No one. Her legs, blackened, blistered. She cannot walk again. The infection spreads, her body slowly shutting down. And yet, they are not done with her. 44 days. 44 days of pain, humiliation, and terror. Junko is no longer the bright, smiling girl her family knew. Her face, swollen beyond recognition. Her body, covered in burns, open wounds, rotting from infection. She cannot walk. She cannot move. Even to breathe is agony. The boys grow tired of her. She is no longer fun to them. She's broken, disposable. On day 44, Hiroshi returns furious. After losing money gambling, he storms into the room. Hours of beating follow. Not punches, not kicks. This time, a metal bar crashing into her stomach. Again and again. For 2 hours straight, her body gives up. Her spirit already shattered. And then, silence. On the morning of January 5, 1989, Junko Furuta is dead. Morning comes. Junko's body lies lifeless on the floor, but the nightmare isn't over. Hiroshi and his accomplices don't panic. They plan. Every move calculated. First, they wrap her body in blankets, stuff it into a travel bag. Then, they leave the house. They steal a steel drum from a construction site. Height, 90 centimeters. Diameter, 60. Perfect to hide a body. They force her remains inside. Add cement, fill it, seal it tight. But Hiroshi fears something. Her spirit. He believes she will return, as a ghost, so he drops a videotape inside, a TV drama. Junko loved. A twisted offering, to silence the dead. Finally, they load the drum into a truck, drive it to a remote industrial area near Tokyo Bay. They abandon it, leave her there, like trash. And then, they go home, and destroy the evidence. For weeks, Junko's family searched. Posters, phone calls, no answers, no trace. The boys thought they were safe, untouchable, but then, a different crime leads police straight to them. January 23, 1989. 2 of the gang members are arrested for sexual assault on another girl. During interrogation, one detective senses something off. The boys brag about another crime, something bigger, something horrific. Investigators dig deeper. Clues start to connect. A missing girl, Junko Furuta. When questioned, Hiroshi tries to bluff. He says, "If you find her body, prove it." Detectives take the challenge. They push harder. The facade cracks. One accomplice breaks down and confesses. He tells them about the steel drum. Police rush to the industrial site near Tokyo Bay. And there it is, a rusted drum, sealed with cement. They open it, the stench overwhelming. Inside, they find Junko Furuta after 44 days of hell. The world finally learns her story. The trial begins. Japan waits for justice. The charges: not murder, not premeditated killing, but causing bodily injury resulting in death. A softer charge, for a crime beyond comprehension, and then the sentences. Hiroshi Miyano, the ringleader. Just 20 years, the maximum allowed for a juvenile. His friends, shorter terms, some only 8 years. 44 days of torture, a death so brutal, and the killers would walk free before their 30s. Junko's parents sit in court, shattered, their daughter's suffering laid bare, while her tormentors smirk when the verdict is announced. The nation erupts in outrage. People call the sentences a disgrace to justice. Petitions flood the system, demanding harsher punishment. But the law doesn't bend. It stands, cold, unmoved. And the killers, one by one, return to society. Junko, Furuta's name, is etched in Japan's darkest history. Not just as a victim, but as a symbol of a system that failed her, a law too soft, for crimes too cruel. After the case, the nation asked hard questions. How did this happen in a modern society? Why did neighbors hear her screams and do nothing? Schools began programs to protect students. Lawmakers debated harsher penalties for juvenile offenders. But for Junko's family, none of it could heal the wound. Their daughter, their bright, beautiful girl, was gone. Even decades later, the world still speaks her name. Her story reminds us, evil does not live in monsters. It hides in ordinary faces, and thrives when silence wins. If you see injustice, speak. If you hear a cry for help, answer. Because for Junko, no one came.